not your presentation actually.
Okay, sir. Just give me a second. Let me get some. Is it okay now, sir?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
now it
sir.
is visible.
Yeah. Okay then. So this is all about my introduction, and we will be talking about imaging radar, data processing, and its applications in this talk. So the outline of this talk is basically I will be introducing you all as you all from image processing research group, where you may be working on different variety of images, like coming to biomedical engineering as biomedical images, as well as remote sensing images, or even the normal platform images. Like I want you to introduce you first what is remote sensing, and what is the specific advantages, and why do we have to go for this imaging radar, and how it was evolved uh, for the synthetic aperture radar, and what are the SAR processings that we need to do, I mean, if we want to use this data set. And like particularly three processings I have highlighted, as these are the primary processing steps. I mean, it is not limited for 1 hour. I mean, we can cover all the entire processing steps. However, I try to cover as much as I can in this meanwhile. So here we will be trying to cover radiometric calibration, where we will be discussing about the backscattering coefficients, and what are the different like annotations, I mean, where we like the backscattering coefficients can be represented, and what are its uses, and it is limitations. And we'll be looking at it at the speckle noise. Why do we get the speckle noise in remote in this imaging radar, and how it can be minimized? There we will be talking about it. And geometric distortions, like we especially look into these aspects because these geometric distortions are higher in the imaging radar than in any other remote sensing techniques. And this session will be ending up with the applications of imaging radar. So coming to remote sensing. Remote sensing is basically can be defined as an acquisition of information about an object or phenomena without making a physical contact, like your eyes. Okay. As you can also acquire information without going in touch with any object or anything. Okay. Similarly, your ears, maybe you are listening, I mean, to the voice, I mean, without going in touch with the person. Okay. So similarly, remote sensing is sensing something, I mean, without going in physical contact with that object or phenomena. This particular remote sensing terminology been extensively used for the Earth observation applications. Although, I mean, in the general terms, it can be of anything, any purpose. However, like this terminology been mostly used for the Earth observation purpose. So it was started initially in 1840s by mounting cameras on tethered balloon. Okay, so in 1951, the first aerial photographer has taken photography from the uh, tethered balloon to acquire images of Earth's surface from the top view. Okay, which gives you an ample information for various applications, which we will be looking after this in the end of this session. So later, these images were being captured using Bavarian Pigeon Corps in 1903. Like, although as you all know, I mean, all these initial platforms, camera, you need to have that sensor to acquire the images. However, the mounting platform, which was initially chosen the tethered balloon, which is highly unstable, and there's trying to slowly like improve the technology to get a more better high spatial resolution, as well as to standardize the platform in such a way to get a better pictures of Earth's surface, to understand to retrieve more information on the Earth's processings. Okay, so next vision has come up in 1903, and in 1908, the first images from air platform, okay, aeroplane was taken up, and like consequently been extensively used for in the World War I. Okay, these remote sensing images in the military applications, and later it's in 1972, the first Earth observation satellite being launched, which is so-called as Landsat 1 by the USGS NASA, USGS NASA like center. Okay, where you are able to cover much larger area of the Earth's surface, and to get a more stable images than in your previous cases. As you all have seen, we were completely talking about images, which are like camera images. I mean, which basically work on optical images, optical region of electromagnetic spectrum. So, like, why do we have to go for microwave region? Let's just think about it. I mean, optical region has hindrance due to haze and cloudy regions. Okay, with which, I mean, you won't be able to go for an uninterrupted monitoring. Okay, in few situations like flood situation, like disaster scenario, or like you want to monitor a particular project, urban development project, or I mean some specific applications. I mean volcano eruptions. So all these, I mean, you need to have the uninterrupted images, which is not actually possible with the optical data. Okay, so there the microwave region has taken its upper hand, I mean, over the optical region. Okay, and coming to the data remote sensing process. Okay, what are the process sequence of steps that we do like while acquiring these images? As you can see in the presentation, solar radiation. This is a typical passive remote sensing process in which solar energy being illuminated by the sun, and this energy is interacted with passed through the atmosphere and interacts with the target, Earth surface target, or any planetary surface. Okay, and this interacted electromagnetic radiation will reflect it back or emitted back to the sensor, and the sensor collects this information, and this collected information will be sent back to the ground station, and the information collected through the ground station will be processed by an image analysis, where our image processing expertise is required, and these processed images are being used for various applications, uh, a range of applications which we will look into it in the coming slides.
Hello, Shiva, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, your slides is in first slide only, sir. Title slide. It's not moving.
Uh,
Yeah, now it's moving, sir. Now it's moving. Can you please enlarge the screen, sir? F5.
yeah. Is that okay? Is it moving? Slides are.
No, sir. No.
I think there is some issue. I mean, okay, I can go ahead with this if it is okay with to all of you.
Okay.
There is some issue, it seems.
Sir, you try to share the entire screen, sir.
Yeah, I have tried to share the entire screen only. So I have shared the.
Then go for this full view, like F5. You press F5, then you will get the entire slideshow.
Yeah. The same thing I'm doing. Is it moving, sir, now?
Once change the slide, sir.
I'm changing it. I mean.
No, sir. It's fixed.
Sir, go for the slideshow, sir. Go for the slideshow. Then I think
I have already. Now it is in slideshow mode only, sir.
But for us, it is not like that actually. So what is that you can do is you can just leave it and again join back. Then that will be better. Leave this.
Otherwise, I mean, let me just try once again, sir. I mean,
Okay, please.
is it okay now, sir?
Sir,
Still,
once
please.
yeah, sir, once press enter, sir. Enter. Yeah, slide
Yeah,
it
yeah.
at remote sensing process only, sir.
I have changed the slide. I mean, will you be able to see it, sir?
No, no, sir. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Then.
now
Okay.
it's moving. Now it's moving. Please press once again. It may responding slowly, sir. It's not moving. Sir,
Can
once
you
you
see
go
it
to the
in
first,
the screen?
yes, sir.
I have, can you able to see it in the full screen mode or as
No,
a
no, sir.
still as PowerPoint?
No, no, sir. Not in a full screen mode.
So you just log out and log in again,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then try to share the full screen. Then you will see that
sure.
that can happen. That is good.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, sir. Is it?
It's yes. Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay then. So I hope, I mean, we were discussing about the remote sensing process, where we were talking about the sun's illumination radiation. I mean, which passes through the atmosphere and interacts with the target, and this interacted radiation will be recorded through the satellite sensor, or I mean, sensors onboard satellite or airborne aeroplane. Okay, where this collect the information. Been collected, this will be sent back to the processing station, ground station, to further process through the image analysis. Okay, here our image processing expertise is required, and this after the image processing is being done, these images can be used for various applications. So coming to the microwave region of electromagnetic spectrum, as we have already discussed, I mean, what is the specific advantage? I mean, why do we have to choose the microwave region of electromagnetic spectrum for this particular application? So, why don't we, as the sun, as we all know, sun is sun illuminates radiation throughout the electromagnetic spectrum. However, when we try to just capture the radiation which is illuminated back, or return signal, I mean, from the sun's radiation. Okay, this radiation is very less in comparison with the optical data, with due to which when you try to acquire, when you try to capture in a passive mode, okay, completely depending on the sun's illumination, in that case you need to go for coarser resolution, where you may have to go acquire the images in such a way of 25 by 25 kilometer, or I mean 30 by 30 kilometer, 40 by 40 kilometer, to recognize the signals radiation. Okay, so to minimize, and like we all know, I mean, we need to have a higher resolution to get better information from the images. So we are moving towards the radar images. Okay, so here the first development to work was began on radar in 1930s. Okay, this is further been patented by John Ville on synthetic aperture radar in 1954. Coming to the conventional radar and the synthetic aperture radar, what are the advantages? And these are why do we need to have the synthetic aperture radar? Okay, so in which we can see the radar is a like in a conventional way, it has a very coarser resolution. Like relatively, the passive mode, in comparison with the passive mode, you may have the better resolution. However, like it is not sufficient enough, which can be improved in a significant manner by using the synthetic aperture radar. Okay, and this synthetic aperture radar was first initially launched in 1978 on board CSAT. However, the mission was not full-fledged, completely successful, which was actually operational for a very short duration. So later, scientists have not tried, for a while, and they have, meanwhile, they have tried to understand this SAR like acquisition, processing, and to improve in a better way by using the shuttle imaging radar missions. As you can see, shuttle radar imaging radar as a SIR-A mission in 1981. So, and later in 1991, the first spaceborne operational synthetic aperture radar mission was launched by ERS, European Space Remote Sensing Satellite. Okay, one. So as you can see, the comparison between optical images and microwave imaging radar. In 1972, the first operational optical data was optical remote sensing images were being able to provide by this from satellite data, but like it took like about 20 years to get a more like synthetic aperture radar data on board satellite. Okay, so in which these satellites usually been working in the ranges of 1 millimeter to 1 meter. Like we may, I hope you all are aware of the electromagnetic signal processings. Okay, these signals, when it pass through a medium, like the its ability to attenuate gets attenuate. Okay, coming to the lower wavelengths, Ku and K bands. These are the bands where your signal gets attenuate. While it is like transferring from the satellite to by through the atmosphere, while from the satellite to interact with the Earth surface. So these radiations are not commonly being used for the Earth observation applications. As we know, the if we are transmitting a signal, that should not get influenced by the atmosphere. Rather, it should directly interact with the Earth surface. Then only we will be able to get a better and more precise information about the Earth surface. So in most of the images, most of the synthetic aperture radars been worked on the P, L, S, C, and X band ranges, rather than the Q band and K and Ka band and like shorter wavelengths. So due to its longer wavelength range, it could able to penetrate through the haze as well as cloudy cover situations, and been able to provide you an uninterrupted images with which you can do a number of applications. So particularly synthetic aperture radar. So as we have discussed, there is no difference between the real aperture radar, okay, the normal real aperture radar, and the synthetic aperture radar in the structure. Okay, so it is of the same way it captures. However, the image processing is little different. So here we will be synthesizing radar pulses, the radar return pulses, to like to get a better resolution in the azimuth direction. Okay, so coming to the imaging radar, conventionally optical data is been to get to position a pixel value. Okay, you need to have a 3 angle directions. Okay, so however in the radar, the pixel position being estimated based on the time that it takes to receive the return signal. So due to which you won't be in a position to capture the data in a nadir view where you are vertically looking towards the Earth's surface. This is because, as you can see in the picture, like these are the ISO like range lines. ISO range lines, which indicates, I mean, the pixels which falls on this particular line will return the signals and reach the sensor at the same time. Thus, it will be little difficult to discriminate the signal, I mean, coming from like a specific region. Rather, I mean, get problematic, I mean, to identify the position. So this sensor is being tilted towards slightly, and we capture the images in the slant range. Okay, so with which all the all the pixels in the on the ground will be at different ranges, due to which you will be able to receive the signals at different timings. So this is one advantages, as well as it also creates a disadvantages for the microwave imaging radar, I mean, which we will be looking going ahead in the coming slides. So basics SAR data processing is coming to the raw data, okay, where you won't be in a position to understand a single feature, or I mean to identify a single feature. However, we need to pre-process, okay, which where we will be mainly going with the focusing and generating some sort of, I mean, single look complex SAR images. These images are further being processed, I mean, to get a more better images like you may see in the Google Earth, where, I mean, optical data being actually been visualized. However, similar data also being captured. Similar type of data can be get from the microwave imaging radar. So here, the SAR data, SAR specific data formats, when we look into it, these specific data formats are basically depending on the content and geometry. So geometry wise, we have various like types of geometry. Is one is echo, which is a raw data, raw form of, I mean, real aperture information, and then you will be coming up with the slant range. So where the information is in the slant range, I mean, which is not so easy to understand, I mean, the features. And the other one is ground range, which may be more or less like a like the images, I mean, which acquire in the nadir view. Okay, and further, the images which are geocoded, which indicates the respective pixels will be geocoded. I mean, the respective latitude and longitude may be like stored in the image information, image metadata, to further geoprocess, or I mean, further orthorectified. So, and the final product in the like high-end product, I mean, which we in the geometry perspective is orthorectification. So in the orthorectification, we try to minimize all the geometrical errors which are being there in the radar imaging, and maybe in the ready to use format. Okay, and content wise, the signals are in either in the raw data format, and further it can be once we do the focusing and other things, it can be in the it can be formed as a complex data format. As we all know, I mean, a signal can be represented as a complex data form to understand the magnitude and phase information of the signal. Okay, so similarly, the microwave signal, return signal from the SAR is being collected and can be stored as a complex data format, and this is further been analyzed and generated the like decomposition, I mean, like which may be little difficult to understand at this point of stage, I mean, will be going ahead, I mean, in the future and the further slides. So coming to the common data formats which you might be listened in various like websites or I mean various platforms commonly being used, the raw data format and SLC, single look complex data, multi-looking images and geo-coding images, geocoded, and further geo-rectified and or ortho-rectified images. These are the image formats, I mean, which commonly been used, and ready to use format is the ortho-rectified image. I mean, whereas the researchers commonly work from raw data or I mean from single look complex data to better understand the signal processing and other information. So coming to this, like what type of information that we receive from for the imaging radar? Okay, so usually SAW systems are designed in such a way to get a to acquire the images either in a single or dual channel, where we might be working on HH, HV, or I mean like VV, but which indicates, I mean, HH indicates the horizontal transmission and horizontal receiving, and whereas HV represents horizontal transmission and vertical receiving. So similarly, interferometry concept, where we are trying to understand the phase information. Okay, when a signal is transmitted and returned back to the signal, returned back to the sensor. Okay, the changes in the phase gives you the information about the how far particular object is from the sensor. Similarly, when you, in the interferometry concept, where you will be utilizing this phase information from two different passes. Okay, either two different passes are over time, or I mean two different sensors like at the same time may be used to acquire the phase information and to understand how far the signals are. And similarly, as our eyes, okay, we have two different sensors, and where if you are like comparing with the microwave data, I mean, you will try to get the phase information, which you will be able to understand how far a particular object is from this particular one sensor to the other sensor. Okay, and you also know about the distance between your two sensors, so with which you will be able to understand the 3D representation of the Earth's surface may be done in the interferometry, and you even able to understand, like, if a small movement being occurred can be observed and identified and monitored, able to monitor through the interferometry concept. Whereas the other concept is polarimetry concept. Here we have full polarimetry as well as hybrid polarimetry. Hybrid polarimetry is a recent technique where even my research, my primary research is focused on hybrid polarimetry. Okay, so in the full polarimetry, where we are trying to acquire the images in all the four possible polarizations. We all know any arbitrary signal can be like analyzed by using horizontal and vertical polarizations. When you transfer a signal, horizontal or a right circular polarization or any particular signal, while when it undergoes into the interaction with the target, it may transmit back you an arbitrary signal. Okay, you may like, it is little difficult, I mean, to say that it will be a horizontal or I mean it will be vertical. So in such cases, to understand, like to get more information about such arbitrary signals, you need to have to acquire the information in two orthogonal polarizations, which usually been horizontal and vertical, we usually consider to understand this signal, arbitrary signal, return signal. And further, data acquisition, different acquisition modes are being requires, I mean, different processing techniques. Okay, you may not able to apply the same technique, I mean, for all the data sets and for all the processings. However, the processing steps, I mean, that we are discussing in this talk are a primary processing steps. I mean, so you need to know for any set of processing. Okay. So coming to the sort processing, I mean, a primary step is you are supposed to collect the raw data, and which you are supposed to compile the single loop complex data, where your struggles is focus, your processing steps are mainly focused to Doppler centroid estimation, range compression, range migration, and azimuth compression. So in the real aperture radar, you may be like, I just want to go back to the one slide. I mean, to show you one particular case. Like in the real aperture radar, as the sensor moves from the one point to the other point. Okay, so if a sensor is having a beam width of theta, okay, this particular object target, which you can see in the blue color. Okay, this particular target uh, is in the observation from the point, starting point of this point till here. Okay, it is under observation. However, this particular object is of at different ranges. Okay, like in the beginning it is little far for the sensor, and whereas as it goes to the nadir view, perpendicular to the sensor, here the sensor is at the shortest distance, and as it moves, I mean, you will be little far, moving far away from the sensor. Okay, so this information is being used in processing, okay, to get a more better resolution in the azimuth direction. You can able to like by compressing the azimuth, like Doppler concept, you will be able to get a higher resolution images, single loop complex images. On the Doppler side, on the range side, where you will be able to get the information as a pulse width. Okay, so this information is like as it is a slant range. When a beam is illuminated, I mean, it is going to cover over a wider range of it. So this is supposed to be compressed, I mean, to get a better resolution on the range side, range aspect. So like as in the radiometric, as we usually do in the basic radar equation concepts. Okay, so radiometric calibration indicates what the information which we usually get in the raw data is in the digital number form, so that which we are not able to get any physical representation, I mean, more better information. Okay, you won't be in a position to like relate the digital number with any target parameters. Okay, however, to relate it with the target parameters, you need to calibrate the data first. So which is the primary focus, radiometric calibration, where we usually try to generate the backscattering coefficients. The primary processing step of the basic background of this radiometric calibration is of the basic radar equation, as you can see in the presentation. Okay, so here, I mean, we try to estimate the power received by the sensor and the power transmitted, and the gain of the transmission antenna, and all other, I mean, aperture radar information, and like the range information, and angle information, with which angle, I mean, you are looking at the Earth surface. All these will be considered, I mean, to generate like calibrate the data. While calibrating the data, I mean, you have, I mean, different conventions, I mean, to calibrate this backscatter, like popularly been using the sigma naught, beta naught, and gamma naught. Okay, here sigma naught is the information where like this backscattering coefficients are usually is proportional to the intensity of the signal, I mean, which is being received by the sensor. However, like per unit area, how you are considering, I mean, the per unit area is basically defines by this backscatter conventions. Sigma naught is basically defines the signal strength per unit ground resolution area. Okay, whereas your beta naught is defined in the resolution of slant range. I mean, on the vertical to the slant range, I can say. Okay, and here the gamma naught is basically towards the slant range. I mean, like it provides you the information. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of these aspects? I mean, why, like which one I should use? If you see generally, okay. So sigma naught are been popularly been used for the in all the applications, remote sensing, Earth observation applications. This is because of like its ability to relate with the ground resolution. Rather, there is another parameter, I mean gamma naught, which is commonly being used for getting a earth flattened images. Okay, like as it is a side looking aperture radar. Okay, so where you will be having a hilly terrain, uh, you may observe, I mean, lots of distortions, geometrical distortions, I mean, which we will be covering in the next slides. So these distortions are very high in the sigma naught backscatter. Okay, however, these distortions may be minimized like significantly in the gamma naught like backscatter convention. So that's where, I mean, people like they also use the gamma naught backscatter in few cases. So coming to speckle noise is one of the important aspect of imaging radar. I mean, which one should understand. I mean, before working on imaging radar images, SAR images, I can say. So why do we get the this speckle noise? Okay, first of all, speckle noise is a like a salt and pepper sort of noise. I mean, which you can see here. I mean. Like in the images as well. I mean, it is not uniform, whereas, I mean, you may observe, I mean, like some sort of, I mean, salt and pepper sort of noise, like which makes it, I mean, little difficult, I mean, to like observe and to understand the object and features, image features. So this happens because as we are working with the coherent signal. Okay, so when a coherent signal is being illuminated by the synthetic aperture radar and interacted with the various objects of within a resolution cell, let us assume, I mean, our synthetic aperture radar is having a like ground resolution of 10 meter, or I mean, like 20 meter. Okay, 20 meter. Let us consider 20 meter of pixel. The pixel resolution. So in that case, within this 20 meter, you may have various objects, maybe of a building as well as a pole, electric pole, or I mean some other object, I mean some plantation, maybe even the earth surface. Like all these targets are being acted as a source, secondary source, once the signal is interacted with these objects. As you can see in the picture, okay, let us assume, I mean, this is a single pixel, and all these objects behave like a secondary source, and they start illuminating the coherent signal back to the sensor, SAR sensor. So in that case, this interferometer concept, I hope, I mean, everybody must be aware of, I mean, from the class 9th and to 10th. So here this signals make the constructive and destructive interferences, and in few cases, like it may go with a constructive or destructive at the time of by the time it reach to the sensor. So in such case, I mean, wherever we have constructive interference, we may have brighter pixels, and where we have destructive interference, we may have like darker pixels. So this is the basic reason, I mean, due to which, I mean, we get the speckle noise, and this can be minimized by using multi-looking processing or speckle filtering. So we'll look into it, the details of the speckle filtering. Okay, here we basically use a kernel of 5 by 5 or 7 by 5, 7 by 5, 7 by 7, or 9 by 9 to move the moving window operation to perform a specific operation. There are, a few non-SAR specific this speckle noise removal. It is actually a smoothing filter, basically. Okay, in the conventional signal processing or image processing aspect, if I have to speak, it is a low processing filter. Okay, low pass filter. So all the high frequency like noise has been eliminated. From this from the image. However, in the non-SAR specific signals, when we try to average over a 5x5 or 7x7, so average or median or mode or some sort of all these non-SAR specific analysis, due to which we may lose. We may effectively minimize the speckle noise, as well as in few cases we may also lose the contrast between two targets. Let us assume there is a water body and a non-water body surface. Okay, so water body will be having a very low surface, low return signal, observes low return signal from water body due to the specular reflection. Whereas from the other high rough surface target, okay, maybe building or some other rough terrain. So here we may supposed to observe a little higher like backscatter signal. So due to its contrast, you will be able to identify the delineated line. Okay, so how like when we use the non-SAR specific filterings, this demarking line may get like smoothened, and you won't be able to discriminate like strictly. Okay, this is one disadvantages of non-SAR specific filterings. Here we have advanced SAR specific filterings where we use the Lee filter, advanced like adaptive Lee filters. These filters are designed in such a way they also smoothen. They minimize the this speckle filtering, as well as they try to retain the information about the land cover, so that you will be able to discriminate these such high contrast objects or features. So in the multi-looking approach, your SAR images are actually if you look at this from the single look complex perspective, okay, they look like a stretched images, as you can see in the on the presentation. Okay, so these stretched images are due to the change in due to the differences in the resolution of range as well as azimuth resolutions. So these range and azimuth resolutions are being effectively bring it to the, as they both are two different resolutions. It is of a rectangular shape. Okay, but in general, a pixel is a square pixel. Which we usually commonly try to bring it into a square pixel. So, for example, you have a range resolution of 3 meter and azimuth of 5 meter. Like we try to bring it to the 15 meter pixel spacing. So, which may be appeared like a proper image on the Earth's which you acquire in the nadir view. Okay, as you can see here in the second image. Okay, so this is more easy to understand and like better to visualize as well. Okay, such images may be generated by multi-looking, which is simply averaging in the azimuth as well as range directions. Like as we considered in the earlier case, range resolution 3 meter and azimuth resolution 5 meter. In such case, range will be averaged in the 5 looks, and azimuth direction will be averaged for a 3 looks, with which you will be able to end up with 15 meter by 15 meter. The biggest disadvantage, however, you will be able to like minimize the speckle noise in this multi-looking. The disadvantages of this multi-looking processing is you are losing the spatial resolution. Okay, However, I mean, this can be retained with the speckle filterings. So one more important process or processing, sir, like conversion of slant range to the ground range. As you can see in the picture, I mean, as the SAR sensor is a side-looking aperture radar, the SAR sensor creates a pixels in a little like difficult way to identify or recognize the feature. So these slant range features are first need to be bring it down to the pixels, ground range resolution, so that which may be better or I mean little easier to uh, interpret the features. We have discussed about the in the over a plane terrain. Like let us consider, I mean, this side-looking aperture radar. Let us assume you have a plane surface, plane Earth surface. In such case, all the points over the plane Earth surface are at different ranges, so that each point, as you move, as the far ranges have, I mean, a little, it takes more time to reach the sensor, and whereas I mean, short range pixels may be received by the sensor little early. Okay, this is actually fine when it is a flat terrain. However, when we have a hilly terrain, there the challenges comes. So let us consider, I mean, if your terrain, if your top of the mountain is received first to the sensor than the bottom of your like hilly terrain. In that case, SAR sensor actually try to interpret the position of the pixel based on the time it reaches. So with which I mean it misinterpret the top of the signal, I mean, which comes from the top of this hill, uh, is considered as the pixel, I mean, is from this particular position. Okay, whereas your the lowest pixel, I mean, the bottom of the hill is being received by the sensor later works, and is being placed on the after after the top position. However, this is not supposed to be the conventional, or I mean, is it a right way to place the pixels? Okay, so this is one approach. This is one issue which we call it as layover. Okay, and as the layover become like shortened, like as you move from the uh, to the steeper, shallow slopes of hilly slope. Okay, and when it reaches to the when it is of a less than your incidence angle, SAR incidence, sorry, SAR incidence angle. This four slope angle, when the four slope angle is less than your like incidence angle, in that case, your top signal may be acquired either at the same time as your ground result, as the bottom of your hill uh, is receiving. Otherwise, it may be received little later votes. Okay, for the shallow slope regions. Still, these regions are being like, as it has a very short duration gap. These regions are shortened. That's why I mean we call it as foreshortening phenomena. Okay, and on the other hand, there is one more like distortion, I mean, which usually been happened due to the back slope region. So here, when you have a higher than your incidence angle, this back region, back slope regions are not being able to captured by the synthetic aperture radar, and this completely appeared as a blank. Okay, you won't be in a position to retrieve back, I mean, those shadow regions. I mean, which are supposed to be these geometric distortions are supposed to be taken care and are eliminated during the processing step. So coming to the basic SAR data formats, you usually able to purchase or you able to get the data sets in four levels: level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3. In the level 0, you are completely getting of a raw signal product. So you will have an ample scope to do research over these level 0 products. And whereas the level 1 product, in the signal processing point of view, I am talking. Okay, like each data has its own importance and for the applications purpose. However, research purpose, I'm talking for the level 1, where you are going to get the geotagged product, single look complex data. Okay, these products are also being extensively used for research purpose. Whereas level 2 and level 3, where people mostly used for the application oriented, maybe civil engineers or geology, geography, like related people may mostly use such products. It may be not more effective for the signal processing or image processing expertise. As you can see, this is the sample data for the level 0. You won't be recognizing any information from the image, and which you need to do several processings. To bring it to as an image level. Okay, where the level 2, it is a geo-referenced image, so it is ready to use. And in the level 3, you are talking about the layers which are retrieved from the SAR data. Okay, like flood inundation mapping or some sort of forest biomass information, like volcano 3D information, eruption information. So such details are being generated, and those final products are being available for further applications and further analysis. So coming to the basic applications of imaging radar, here we have a number of applications. If we talk, about the applications, this time span is not limited. However, prime focus of imaging radar is being extensively used for the agriculture, forestry, ocean, cryosphere, where the snow and glacier perspective, will be studies are being conducted, and the further urban related applications. Coming to agriculture applications, here we have SAR images have been extensively used for crop identification, mapping, and monitoring activities. You all might be hearing about the insurances, as well as before sometimes within season itself, you get the reports of this much area is being cropped by this particular crop. Wheat crop is being sown very less, or rice crop is sown very high. All these information you may usually get from the various platforms. Currently, microwave data is extensively used for various companies as well as banks, even the government institutions, to generate the this crop mapping information. And in addition to the crop mapping information, we were also able to retrieve leaf area index, biomass, height, yield informations from the synthetic aperture radar information, and have shown ample potentials in the agricultural applications. Forestry related applications, similarly, as we can consider, for the crop, it can also be used for the mapping and further monitoring, where one can able to focus the deforestation and afforestation activities. We have various schemes, to addressing the deforestation as well as afforestation activities. These can be monitored through the synthetic aperture radar data, and able to monitor the health status of forest over a time. Okay, and more in addition to it, we also able to retrieve the biophysical parameters like leaf area index, biomass, height, and further yield information like carbon stocks, I can say. And the ocean related applications, in most of them might be aware of the land applications. However, it has a good number of ocean related applications as well. So in the ocean related, I mean, shoreline changes can be addressed, and due to the changes, variations in the intensity uh, through the wave, okay, you one could able to get the wind direction as well as wind speed from the microwave synthetic aperture radar images, as well as oil spill like disasters uh, can be identified and immediately monitor these oil spill activities and easily been addressed using synthetic aperture radar due to its high sensitivity to the dielectric constant of the target. Okay, so it also able to identify ship and wake detections over the ocean, and further to study the ocean currents. Also, it is SAR data can be used. So coming to the urban applications, where we can map the urban area as well as urban region planning activities can be done using synthetic aperture radar data by generating urban infrastructure information as well as digital elevation model pattern, which is one of the primary input, I mean, for any planning activities. And further, one can also analyze the urban change detection analysis. So for the cryosphere related, I mean, studies may address glacier mapping, glacier monitoring, and the movements of glaciers, glacier and ice sheet velocity measurements can be done, and the directions also been analyzed. Further, icebergs tracking can be done using synthetic aperture radar data. In almost, I mean, for the disasters perspective, synthetic aperture radar data has an upper hand over any other data sets. To get any information from the space, synthetic aperture data is more effective during the disaster time, as it can provide you uninterrupted data sets, uninterrupted information. Okay, so here, I mean, this is one particular case, I mean, where we have worked on the Kaziranga National Park, which is a UNESCO site national park, I mean, a wetland area in the Brahmaputra River, on the beds of the Brahmaputra River, I mean, which usually frequently gets flooded, I mean, for every year, at least, I mean, twice in a year. Okay, we could able to monitor these flooding activities using synthetic aperture radar data, and see, I mean, how easy to see it. However, when we go with the optical data, okay, you won't believe, I mean, during monsoon season, we won't be in a position to get a single cloud-free data over this region. However, optical data, however, microwave data able to provide you a seamless information, or I mean, uninterrupted information for this such flood inundation or flood mapping analysis. Okay. In addition to it, it can also be used for the earthquake mapping, like any movements in the Earth surface can be analyzed due to the earthquakes, as well as you might be hearing about the due to the like a reduction of groundwater levels. I mean, a few areas are getting subsidized on the in India as well as, I mean, throughout the globe. So such land subsidence activities can also be monitored, I mean, through the synthetic aperture radar data sets. So this is all about the image processing and disaster activities, like application perspective. In addition to coming to the researchers, I mean, who would like to work on synthetic aperture radar data. They currently Earth observation, several organizations like European Space Agency, Indian Space Research Organization, as well as NASA, are been providing various data sets, sample data sets, as well as even operational data sets are being provided by the European Space Agency on near real-time basis. Okay, if you would like to work on the yesterday's data, you could able to do. I mean, you can work on Sentinel-1 synthetic aperture radar data. Okay, this is one data. I mean, which is being available for the free of cost to the researchers, so anyone can download and work on it, and are free to publish, or I mean to report any events. So with this, I thank you all. I mean to listening and having patience of all this presentation. Thank you. So if you have any queries, I mean I would be able to address.
Thank you, Dr. Shivashankar sir, and thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Participants can, if you have any questions, you can directly ask questions to the sir.